Star Wars, Episode 4, A New Hope, 1977, it was the beginning of a galactic legacy, a film that changed cinema forever. But what happened to the legendary cast that brought this epic to life? From Mark Hamill's rise as Luke Skywalker to Harrison Ford's unstoppable career, and the unforgettable Carrie Fisher as Princess Leia, we're taking a journey through time to see how these icons have changed, and where they are now in 2025. Some have remained in the spotlight, others have taken different paths, and a few may completely surprise you. Mark Hamill, who portrayed Luke Skywalker, the wide-eyed farm boy destined to become a Jedi, was 25 years old during the filming of A New Hope in 1977. Now 73, his role remains iconic, but his post-Star Wars career was fraught with frustration as he struggled to escape Luke's shadow. Though he found some acclaim in voice work, particularly as the Joker, he often felt underappreciated in Hollywood. Hamill married dental hygienist Mary Lou York in 1978, and they had 3 children, Nathan, Griffin, and Chelsea. Though they stayed married, the pressures of fame, his depression, and long separations caused emotional distance in the family. Tragedy marked his life with a near-fatal car crash in 1977 that altered his appearance, and several close friends' deaths, including Carrie Fisher. His relationship with his children was strained during their teens, and he later admitted to bouts of drinking and anxiety. Financially stable with an estimated $18 million net worth, Hamill now lives a quiet life in Malibu but has spoken openly about loneliness and survivor's guilt from losing so many of his Star Wars castmates. Harrison Ford, who brought swagger and sarcasm to Han Solo, was 35 years old when A New Hope was filmed. At 82, he remains one of Hollywood's most recognizable figures, but the road wasn't smooth. After Star Wars, he skyrocketed to fame, but the overwhelming pressure to maintain that success took a toll. His first marriage to Mary Marquardt ended in divorce in 1979 due to his rising fame and infidelities. They had 2 sons, Benjamin and Willard. He later married screenwriter Melissa Matheson, with whom he had 2 more children, Malcolm and Georgia, but they too divorced. He married actress Callista Flockhart in 2010, and they adopted a son, Liam. While often portrayed as stoic in private, Ford endured years of depression, guilt from his marital failures, and a near-fatal plane crash in 2015. Though worth an estimated $300 million, he has admitted that fame often robbed him of personal joy. Estranged from some children and emotionally reserved, he now leads a reclusive life in Wyoming, finding solace in conservation work and aviation. Carrie Fisher, who immortalized the fierce and witty Princess Leia, was just 21 during A New Hope. Her life after the saga was a mixture of brilliance and breakdowns. Despite initial acclaim, she faced typecasting and endured a decades-long battle with bipolar disorder and drug addiction. Her highly publicized marriage to singer Paul Simon was tumultuous and brief, ending in divorce after a year. Their relationship remained off and on for years, filled with love but plagued by instability. She had 1 daughter, Billie Lourd, with talent agent Brian Lord, though their relationship ended when he left her for a man. Fisher faced multiple hospitalizations, estrangement from family, and struggled to reconcile fame with mental illness. Despite publishing critically praised memoirs like Postcards from the Edge, she was haunted by feelings of inadequacy. She died of cardiac arrest in 2016 at age 60, with drugs found in her system. Her estate was valued at approximately $25 million, much of which went to Billie. Carrie remains a symbol of resilience, but hers was a life marked by inner battles. Peter Cushing, who chillingly portrayed the cold and calculating Grand Moff Tarkin, was 64 in 1977. A legend of British cinema and horror, Cushing was deeply respected for his professionalism and gravitas. However, his personal life was overshadowed by heartbreak after the death of his beloved wife, Helen, in 1971, a loss from which he never emotionally recovered. The couple had no children, and he spent his remaining years in solitude, often speaking to Helen's photograph and writing her letters. His later career slowed down, and though he appeared in several films, he admitted to working only to distract from his grief. Health issues plagued him, including prostate cancer and chronic pain, and he became increasingly reclusive. Friends noted how he would often retreat into memories of happier times. He died in 1994 at the age of 81, reportedly with Helen's photo in his hand. His estate was valued at approximately £1.2 million. Cushing's brilliance as an actor was unmatched, but his real-life role was that of a man mourning the love he lost too soon. Alec Guinness, who played the sagely Obi-Wan Kenobi, was 62 during the filming of A New Hope. A Shakespearean actor of the highest caliber, he accepted the Star Wars role reluctantly, later calling the script fairy tale rubbish. Despite this, his performance became legendary. Guinness, however, felt creatively unfulfilled and resented the fame it brought, believing it overshadowed his serious work. Married to actress Marilla Solomon since 1938, their bond was strong but strained by Alec's secret bisexuality, which he reportedly kept hidden out of fear and societal pressure. Their only child, Matthew, struggled with his father's emotional distance. Alec endured lifelong spiritual torment, converting to Catholicism but often battling guilt and repression. His later years were marked by declining health and reclusiveness. He died of liver cancer in 2000 at the age of 86. His estate was estimated at £2.5 million. Guinness's portrayal of Obi-Wan brought him fortune and fame, but he remained tormented by the role, calling it a blessing that became a burden. Anthony Daniels, who brought the fussy and neurotic protocol droid C-3PO to life, was 31 during the filming of A New Hope in 1977. Now 79, he remains the only actor to appear in every main Star Wars film, yet his experience behind the Golden Mask was often bitter. He famously clashed with Kenny Baker and felt unappreciated by the production team, frequently describing his time on set as isolating and physically painful due to the restrictive costume. Daniels married Christine Savage, a stage manager he met in the late 1980s, but the relationship collapsed in the early 2000s amid rumors of infidelity and long-term emotional neglect. They had one son, Alexander, whom Daniels rarely speaks of publicly, reportedly due to a strained relationship. He suffered from depression and resentment over being typecast and later admitted to resenting the lack of respect from fans and Lucasfilm alike. Though financially secure with an estimated $8 million net worth, he's said to struggle with feelings of invisibility, despite being a beloved character. He lives a quiet, reclusive life in the UK, occasionally appearing at fan events but often reflecting bitterly on a career that, in his words, never escaped the wires and plating. Kenny Baker, the man inside the beloved astromech droid R2-D2, was 42 during A New Hope. Born with dwarfism, he stood just 3 feet 8 inches tall, and endured discrimination throughout his career. Though he became famous with Star Wars, Baker struggled to find meaningful roles afterward, often relegated to novelty appearances. He married actress Eileen Baker in 1970, and they had 2 children, Christopher and Rachel. Their marriage was loving but burdened by financial hardship and the medical expenses associated with Baker's health issues. After Eileen's death in 1993, Baker fell into depression, rarely appearing in public and withdrawing from most friends. He was open about his conflicts with Anthony Daniels, which further soured his experience with the franchise. In his later years, Baker suffered from chronic respiratory and mobility problems. He died on August 13, 2016, at the age of 81. His estate was valued at around £350,000. Despite his worldwide recognition, Baker's final years were marked by loneliness and a feeling that Hollywood had discarded him once he was no longer needed in costume. Peter Mayhew, who embodied the towering and lovable Chewbacca, was 33 in 1977. Standing 7 feet 3 inches tall due to Marfan syndrome, Mayhew's immense size brought him fame but also chronic pain. Following Star Wars, he found few acting roles, and financial struggles plagued much of his life. He married Angie Luker in 1999, a nurse who became his caregiver during his decline. They had one child, Katie, though Peter's frequent convention travels and health concerns strained their family life. Mayhew underwent multiple surgeries on his knees and spine and used a wheelchair in his final years. He often expressed feeling forgotten by Hollywood, and despite being beloved by fans, he admitted feeling underpaid and unrecognized for Chewbacca's legacy. Mayhew died on April 30, 2019, at the age of 74, from a heart attack. His estate was reportedly worth $5 million, largely earned from conventions and fan appearances rather than film salaries. His final years were bittersweet, celebrated by fans but quietly enduring physical pain, emotional fatigue, and a longing to be remembered as more than the fur-covered sidekick. David Prowse, the imposing figure behind Darth Vader's armor, was 42 in 1977. A bodybuilder and weightlifting champion, Prowse gave Vader his physical menace, though his voice was famously replaced by James Earl Jones, a decision that left Prowse deeply embittered. His relationship with Lucasfilm soured over the years, culminating in a ban from official Star Wars events in 2010. Married to Norma E. Scammell since 1963, they had 3 children, Stephen, Rachel, and Angela. The marriage endured, but his career did not, as Prowse was often overlooked for serious roles and fell into financial instability. He was diagnosed with arthritis and later Alzheimer's, relying on his family for care. He often expressed regret over how his role was handled, calling it the most famous character I played, yet the one that destroyed my acting career. Prowse died on November 28, 2020 at 85, from COVID-19 complications. His estate was estimated at just £200,000. Though hailed by fans for his contribution, he died feeling cast aside by the very saga he helped make legendary. Phil Brown, who portrayed Uncle Owen in A New Hope, was 61 in 1977 when he took on the role of Luke Skywalker's stern and practical uncle. Although his role was brief, Brown's performance was memorable, representing the grounded life Luke was desperate to escape. Phil had been blacklisted during the McCarthy era, which forced him to leave the US and work in the UK for much of his career. This exile greatly impacted his professional life, and although Star Wars brought a glimmer of attention, it did little to rejuvenate his stalled career. He married actress Ginny Brown, and the couple had 1 son, Kevin. Their marriage was marked by long separations due to work and financial stress. After Ginny's death in 1990, Phil fell into a deep depression and rarely worked again. He developed dementia in his later years and required round-the-clock care. He passed away on February 9, 2006, at age 89 from pneumonia. At the time of his death, his estate was estimated at around $300,000. Though his name is barely remembered by modern audiences, Brown's final years were filled with quiet bitterness, a sense of being a forgotten artist from a galaxy far, far away. Sheila Fraser, who portrayed Aunt Beru, was 55 in 1977 and already a seasoned British actress when she took on the role of Luke's kind-hearted but fearful guardian. Though her character met a fiery end in A New Hope, Fraser remained proud of her contribution. Unfortunately, her career never took off afterward, and she returned to small television roles and stage work in relative obscurity. Sheila never married and had no children, often describing her career as her life partner. She suffered from severe bouts of depression, especially after the deaths of close friends and her sister in the late 1980s. Her later years were lonely, spent in a modest flat in London surrounded by old scripts and theatre memorabilia. Fraser was diagnosed with Alzheimer's disease in the late 1990s and spent her last years in a care home. She died on August 29, 2000, at the age of 78. Her estate was valued at less than £150,000. Though cherished by devoted fans of the original film, Fraser's legacy faded quickly, and she died without the recognition many believed she deserved for helping to launch the greatest space saga ever told. Jack Purvis, who portrayed the Chief Jawa and also appeared in all 3 original Star Wars films in different roles, was 43 in 1977. Standing just 4 feet tall, he was often cast in small roles that relied more on stature than talent. While Star Wars brought him visibility, it never led to significant career growth. He married Judy Purvis in the 1960s, and they had 3 children, including a daughter, Laura, who later spoke about her father's constant struggle with typecasting and poverty. In 1990, Jack suffered a devastating spinal cord injury in a car accident that left him paralyzed from the neck down. Already battling depression and addiction, the accident pushed him further into despair. He spent his remaining years in care homes, reportedly feeling betrayed by an industry that had no place for him after tragedy struck. He passed away on November 21, 1997, at just 60 years old. His estate was valued at less than £100,000. Though he was part of movie history, Purvis died forgotten by Hollywood, remembered mostly by niche fan circles and family members who continued to advocate for his overlooked contributions. Alex McCrindle, who played General Dodonna, the rebel leader who uttered the iconic line, "May the Force be with you," was 68 during filming. Though his role was small, his commanding presence left an impression. A Scottish stage and radio veteran, McCrindle's work was largely unrecognized outside the UK. His post-Star Wars career stagnated, and he returned to regional theatre work to support himself. He married actress Honor Arundel, and they had 2 daughters, but the couple divorced in the late 1970s, reportedly due to McCrindle's emotional unavailability and frequent infidelity. One daughter became estranged, and he lived most of his later years alone. He was diagnosed with cancer in 1988 and passed away on April 20, 1990, at the age of 78. At the time of his death, his estate was valued at approximately £250,000. Though fans remember Dodonna's quiet strength, McCrindle died largely uncelebrated, longing for a second chance at stardom that never came and haunted by regrets over broken family ties and a career that faded too soon. Eddie Byrne, who portrayed General Willard, was 64 years old in 1977 when he took on the role of the calm and authoritative rebel officer who welcomes Princess Leia to the rebel base. Although his part was brief, his character helped establish the urgency of the rebellion's cause. A seasoned Irish actor, Byrne had enjoyed success on stage and in Irish cinema, but was largely unknown outside of niche audiences. After Star Wars, he struggled to find meaningful roles, often relegated to minor TV appearances and uncredited parts in low-budget productions. He had married his childhood sweetheart, Margaret Doyle, and they had 2 sons, Liam and Patrick. Unfortunately, the constant financial strain and Byrne's increasing dependence on alcohol led to a bitter separation in 1979. His sons later described their father as emotionally distant and plagued by regret. Byrne suffered from declining health in the early 1980s, exacerbated by years of heavy drinking and untreated depression. He died on August 21, 1981, at the age of 68 from complications related to liver failure. At the time of his passing, his estate was worth less than £75,000. Though his legacy in Star Wars is fleeting, his family has worked to preserve his memory as a hardworking, if troubled, actor whose final years were marred by solitude and professional disappointment. Who is your favorite character from Star Wars? Episode for A New Hope. How does it feel knowing that some of the actors are no longer with us? Share your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoy this type of content, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell to stay updated on future uploads. Thank you for your support.